If you are a teenager today, chances are this is what your parents looked like in 1957. Jackets and ties for the boys, swirl skirts for the girls. They weren't so formal all the time, just on Bandstand, for a reason. It helped their parents swallow a bitter musical pill called rock and roll.
When we started back then, none of the older generation liked the music. They didn't just dislike it, they hated it. Now, in order to make that acceptable, we had the guys bring a jacket and a tie to the studio. They never dressed that way, but that made them look, in those days we called it peachy keen, neato, cool, and smooth. And so it made it more acceptable to the adults.
Clark was so concerned about being acceptable, he kept an eagle eye out for the way the youngsters were dancing. The dances now are much more suggestive than the twist was.
Life in the 80s is more advanced than it was in the 50s. We are all more sophisticated. You can't, you're too young. But you think back to the 50s, you had Mr. Eisenhower as a president. We weren't doing anything. We were heroes all over the world. People stayed married forever. There may have been adultery, but we didn't talk about it. We didn't talk about safe sex. We didn't talk about the fact that the president's people may have sold arms to somebody under the table.
It was an age of innocence, and rock and roll threatened it. But in a sense, Dick Clark and American Bandstand made rock and roll safe for America. Tune in any night through the years and watch the clothing, the hairstyles, the dances, all changing. But the program stayed the same. Clark is fond of saying, American Bandstand is like a window in your home. You open your shade and look out the window, and you see the whole world passing by. You remember the musicians who lip-synced their way into rock and roll history? Today, the beat goes on. This girl, Delisa Davis, is a former Miss Teenage Georgia. She is a member of a band called Shalimar. Delisa knows that an appearance on Bandstand can make her a national star. Everybody loves Dick Clark.
All right.
Dick Clark shaped the musical direction of thousands of young men and women for whom a shot on American Bandstand could change their lives.
You know what's weird about that? Ernest Evans, chubby checker. It's true indeed. My wife named him when she walked into the studio and said, oh, he looks like little fat Domino. And the poor man's had to live with that all his life.
While American Bandstand was making and breaking recording artists, it was also breaking new cultural ground in other, more important ways.